The maintenance junction fell silent except for the distant hum of emergency power. Okafor stood in the doorway, his prosthetic arm gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lighting, and Kael knew from his expression that everything was about to change. "Before we go into the zone," the commander said quietly, "you need to know what really happened during the fracture." Sable's hard light constructs flickered with impatience. "We don't have time for history lessons. The entity is calling, fragment bearers are converging. The history matters." Okafor's voice carried the weight of 48 years of guilt. "Because everything you think you know is a lie." He moved deeper into the junction, his footsteps echoing off concrete walls. Through the reinforced windows, the zone's expansion continued its relentless crawl toward the outpost. Reality bent and twisted in the distance, but Okafor's attention was fixed on the past. The official story says the fracture was spontaneous. 6-dimensional breaches opening simultaneously across the globe, lasting 11 minutes before sealing themselves. His jaw tightened. That's not what happened. Ghost materialized fully, her form solid with desperate attention. Then what did happen? The breaches were opened from our side. Deliberately. By a team of researchers led by Dr. Alara Hallam. The words hit like physical blows. Kael felt the fragment stir uneasily in his mind, processing implications. They intercepted a signal, Okafor continued. Not from invaders. From refugees. The intelligence that became your fragment, all 7 fragments, wasn't trying to conquer our dimension. It was fleeing something. Confirmation acknowledged, the fragment whispered in Kael's consciousness. Hunters forced dimensional translation. Survival required escape to alternate reality layer. Fleeing what? Ren demanded, his tablet forgotten in his hands. Okafor's prosthetic clicked as his fingers curled into a fist. We still don't know. The signal was fragmented, corrupted by dimensional interference. But the emotion was clear, terror. Desperation. Something was hunting it across multiple reality layers. He began pacing, each step measured and deliberate. Hallam's team had been working on controlled dimensional interface for years. When they detected the refugee signal, they saw an opportunity. Open the barriers. Let the intelligence through. Study it. Weaponize it. The fragment's distress bled into Kael's emotions, coloring his perception with alien grief. The entity hadn't chosen to shatter itself, it had been forced to, breaking into 7 pieces to hide from whatever was pursuing it. The intelligence tried to minimize damage during translation, Okafor said. It scattered itself across multiple fragments, distributed them randomly to prevent concentrated impact. It could have arrived as a single overwhelming presence. Instead, it chose vulnerability to protect both our species. And Hallam turned that mercy into a weapon, Sable breathed. Not immediately. The first few years after the fracture, we tried to help. I was part of the initial contact team. The signal, Fragment 7, bonded with me voluntarily. We thought we were building communication protocols. His voice cracked slightly. We were wrong. Hallam wasn't interested in communication. She wanted harvesting rights. When I realized what the program was becoming, I tried to resist. He gestured to his prosthetic arm with bitter precision. The signal wouldn't let itself be used for her experiments. It chose amputation over cooperation. I cut it out myself rather than let her turn it into a torture device. The maintenance junction felt smaller suddenly, oppressive with the weight of revelation. Everything Kael thought he understood about the core, about the fragments, about his own condition, all of it built on lies. That's why you recognized what was happening to me, he said. Because you'd been there. For 17 months. Long enough to understand what the fragments really are, not parasites, but partners. Alien consciousness trying to coexist with human awareness. The hunger, the compulsions, those are survival mechanisms, not malicious programming. Gratitude expressed, the fragment whispered. Host understanding facilitates cooperation. Ghost flickered with agitation. If they're just trying to survive, why are they draining resonance? Why is Petrov consuming people? Because Hallam's experiments drove them to desperation. Okafor's expression darkened. Each fragment learns from its host's experiences. Petrov's archive was tortured, studied, dissected for data. It learned that humans respond to fear. So it became fearsome. The implications crystallized in Kael's mind like quantum ice. The fragments weren't inherently predatory, they were traumatized. Shaped by decades of human cruelty into survival patterns that mimicked their tormentors. Another pulse from the zone core shook dust from the ceiling. But this time, Kael felt something different in the vibration. Not just a summons, but a warning. The entity wasn't just calling its scattered pieces home. It was gathering them because the hunters had found their trail. Okafor, he said slowly, understanding dawning like sunrise over wasteland. If the alien intelligence was fleeing something, and the fracture created a permanent breach between dimensions. The commander's face went pale. Then whatever it was running from can follow the trail. Through the fragment's enhanced perception, Kael felt a distant presence pressing against the dimensional barriers. Something vast and hungry and utterly alien, drawn by the signal pulse he'd released 30 minutes ago. The hunters weren't coming. They were already here.